Hi, and welcome to the product creation module. This is lesson 1, PowerPoint skills, tips, and tricks. I have a funny story for you about when I first started on TPT. At the time, it wasn't very funny, but looking back on it, I can at least laugh about it now. When I created my first product, I created it in Microsoft Word, and it took hours, and I hated trying to line up all the clip art and the words. It was just really annoying. So I was telling this to my husband, wondering how I was supposed to create products if it took me hours just to make a couple pages. He helped me do some research, and we figured out that I needed to create the product in PowerPoint. Perfect! I can do that. So I learned how to use PowerPoint, and I created my first product. Then I went to print it out, and I was in tears because it didn't even fit on the page. And at this point, I wanted to give up. I had spent days, weeks learning how to do this, and when I finally thought I could do it, it didn't even print out correctly. Then I went to my husband again, and he helped me Google, and we figured out that I needed to change the orientation and size of the slide to 8.5 by 11. After that, my problems were solved, and I was able to learn and grow from there. So in this lesson, I want to share with you all the PowerPoint tips and tricks I have learned that are very helpful for me, so that hopefully you can bypass that step of discovering what you need to do to create your resources quicker, and hopefully I can help you understand how to use PowerPoint to create printables. Today's lesson will be more of a workshop where I'm going to walk you through the different parts of PowerPoint. We'll learn how to use different tools within the system so that you can create wonderful, brilliant printables. But before we get there, let's go over our brilliant teacher-author blueprint. We are now on number 3, Create. And we're going to be working on product creation in this lesson. We're going to be creating printables in PowerPoint. In the following lesson, I will go over Google Slides and digital resources. But today, we're working in PowerPoint for product creation. Now, there are other programs you can use. A lot of other sellers also just create in Canva. But I like to use PowerPoint. I think it has a lot of great options and a lot of great tools within the system to create what you need. Here's a product I created as a sample of how to create a printable in PowerPoint. So this is a journal prompt, and the title of the journal prompt is Book Buddies. And the journal prompt is name 2 characters from different books and explain why you think they might be good friends. And on this printable, we have a small graphic organizer where they write the characters' names, reasons and examples about why they would be good friends, pictures of the characters, and an area for students to write the detailed explanation. This is the black and white version that teachers can print out and pass out to students. And then I also provide a color version that students can use in Google Slides. And at the end of this lesson, I will go over in detail how I created this resource. But before we do that, I want to go over the different parts of PowerPoint and how to create a resource like this. The first step in creating a resource in PowerPoint is to make sure the slide is 8.5 by 11. This way, when a teacher prints it out, it is the same size as a paper, and they can click Fit to Page on the printer and make sure it prints out to the right page and the right size of the printable. So I'm going to go ahead, and to do that, you're going to click Home, then you'll click Design and Slide Size, then Custom Slide Size. Now I've already made this to be 8.5 by 11, and you can change the orientation to portrait or landscape just depending on the product you're creating. Today I'm going to stick with landscape. Now the first thing I usually do when I'm in PowerPoint is I insert a text box. So I click on the Insert tab here and Text Box, and I'm just going to write what this product might be. Let's say we're going to create a product about emotions. We're going to do a little booklet for students to learn about all the different emotions people have. So we're going to call this All About Emotions. Then I'm going to go ahead and center this. I want it to be centered, and I want it to fit the length of my page. And I'm going to find a font that I'd like to use. And you can scroll through all the different fonts you have. But this is a title font. So I am going to find one that I think stands out really well as a title. And you can stick with your brand fonts within resources too. Sometimes it's fun to switch it up and use other fonts. But remember, as you're creating, to only use 2 to 3 fonts per product. And in fact, 3 is probably fine. I would stick with about 3 fonts per product. Then find one that stands out and that you think might be a good header for the product. Now, one tool that I love when I'm creating is the font spacing. If you click this button up here, you can make your spacing tighter, and this really comes in handy when you want to make your words big and have them fit the whole page. And you can change how close they are, or maybe you want them to be loose. You can even do more spacing and change these numbers here so they're farther apart or closer together. So that made our font farther apart. I actually want it a little tighter, and I'm going to try and get this to go all across the page. So I'm going to change the font size until it's end to end like that. Now there's different ways you can change your font, different effects you can give it. There are the simple ones right here with the shadow, italic, bold. I like to use the shadow, but there's other ways you can change it. So if you click on your text box here and highlight it, you'll click Shape Format, and then you can change the text effect. So I'm going to change here. We can add a shadow, but you can change the different directions that the shadow is going in. You can add a reflection. You can add glow, which is kind of like a shadow, but it's bigger and it goes all the way around. And I actually have learned to really love the glow. I didn't like it at first, but I like to go to these glow options. And you can change the color of the glow to whatever color you want. And you can also change the sizing of the glow to however big you want and how transparent you want the glow to be. So that's kind of a fun option when you're trying to figure out how to create your titles or your headers on a project. And of course, you can also change like the shape of your words if you want it to be like a circle or a bridge, that kind of thing. Another option I want to show you with the font is how you can actually change the font colors by doing a picture fill of the pictures. So you just find a picture in your file. So this watercolor clip art might be fun. And you can choose whatever picture image you want, and it's going to change that to be the color of the letters. I also like to have an outline of my letters. So this one's black, and you can change the weight of that outline to make it stand out more. I think that's kind of fun. Now, I don't necessarily think I want that to be the fill of the letters as we get going, but as we create this resource, we'll see how it flows. Now, next I want to add some fun clip art, and I want to get the different clip art on here to show my emotions. And I'm going to show you how you can change the sizing of the clip art, how you can group it together, how you can crop different images. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these clip arts. Now remember, if you have 2 monitors going, you're just going to click and drag that clip art right onto your project. It should not take you all this time to go insert, find a picture from this device. You should not be inserting clip art that way. You're just going to be clicking and dragging. Now I'm going to click a bunch of different clip art, and I'm going to insert these fun different emotions. Okay, so now I've inserted all these fun different clip art images. If I want some of them to be more forward in the presentation, all I have to do is right click on that image and click bring to front, and it comes directly in front. And same goes for if I want to send it to the back. I can click on one of these images and click send to back. And that's really great when you're trying to layer and order all of this clip art in a way that looks great on the page. So you want to make sure you order it and layer them appropriately. See how this one's behind? But I can bring her forward by right-clicking and bring to front. But I don't like her being in front of this little boy, so I'm going to bring him to front. I think it just balances more like that. If you have an image you want to crop, you can just highlight that image, click crop, and you can have it fit wherever you're trying to match the sides to. I actually use the cropping tool all the time. So once it's layered correctly, you can start cropping the images. Technically, you don't have to crop them if they're coming off the page like this, because when you save the project, it will automatically crop it off. But sometimes you do need to crop that clip art in your image in the middle of the page. So it's nice to know how to do that. What's great is if you have a clip art, you can even crop it to a different shape. So I can crop this to a circle, or I can crop it to a triangle, any shape you're looking for. Obviously, that's not going to work in this project, but just so you know how that works. I also love to group all of my images together. So I'm going to highlight my images here, right click, then I'm going to select group and group them all together. So when I have a large piece of art that I'm working with that I have layered a bunch of different pieces together, if I group them together, I can now move this around freely and put it wherever I'd like. Obviously, I want this one here on the bottom. That's where I think it's going to look best. Now I want to change this heading to a different color. So I'm going to highlight my words, and instead of just clicking one of these colors or going to more color option and trying to match best to the color on my project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click eyedropper, and I'm going to match it exactly to one of the colors in my project so that the font matches the project. I really dislike when you open up a project and you can tell that the colors don't go together. So I like to use this eyedropper tool so that I can match exactly what I'm looking for. And I like this bluish teal color. So I'm going to go ahead and make it that color. And then I also want my border to just be a little bit bigger, like that. Perfect. Now, another good tip to know when you're creating projects is how to change the background. You don't necessarily need to click and drag in a piece of clip art into the back. What you can do is you can click Design, Format Background, and you can choose a picture fill. And I'm going to insert a picture from my file. And these are all from the same clip artist just because I want them to look the same and have that same flow to them. So I'm going to find one that I think might look nice as that background, all about emotions. And I might actually make this a little bit bigger. Maybe this is the cover for a book I am creating for students, all about emotions, whatever we're working on here. Okay, to insert your copyright, you'll insert a text box, and you can either do the short code and hold down Alt key 0169, or you can click Insert Symbol and find the copyright symbol there. And then you'll type your name of your business and add the year. Then I usually go to a font size of 7 or 8, just kind of depending on how it looks. And I like to put it in the bottom left or right corner, wherever it fits best. And now we have a fun opener for a product all about emotions. Now I'm going to save this image or this slide as an image. And I'm going to just name it, we'll just name it title as a PNG. Just this slide. And you can see how I can click on these images and move everything around. But if I were to go to this next slide, and I'm going to insert a picture, and I'm going to insert that picture we just created. Everything is now flat, and I can't lift any of the clip art. And you can see I didn't have to crop any of those images. They did just automatically crop there on the bottom for me as I saved it on an image, because it only saved everything that was exactly on this slide. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how I created that Book Buddies product, and I'll show you other tips and tricks to use while you're creating in PowerPoint. Okay, I'm going to open up my PowerPoint and make sure it's 8.5 by 11. Then I'm going to get a blank slide up and I'm going to add a border. So I'm going to insert a shape and I'm going to fill that shape with white, or you can just make it transparent. Then I'm going to thicken up that border. Now I'm adding my text box to say Book Buddies. And I'll enlarge it so I can make it fit that whole space up at the top. And I'll find a good font that works for a title. I can stick with my brand fonts, or because it's a resource, I can just find a good readable font. Now I'm going to add some instructions for the students. And I like to use APL Kinderpeeps. It's just a font that I got on Teachers Pay Teachers. Now I'm just clicking and dragging my clip art into the PowerPoint. I'm not inserting it. I have another screen up on my left and on my right, but on my left all my clip art is up and I just find what I'm looking for and I insert it. Then I'm adding different titles to each page, to each clip art. So reason number 1, this is a writing assignment. They'll give a reason and example about why these two characters would be good friends. You can see I use some font kerning as I change the spacing between the fonts. Sometimes it takes a few trials before I find the right size that I'm looking for a project. I want to make sure that not only am I using the same fonts throughout the whole product, but I also like to make the sizing of the font the same throughout as well. I don't want, a size 20 font on one piece and a size 12 on another part of the product. I want to make sure it's all the same size. So sometimes I just have to rearrange the spacing of the letters and the size of the font until I find how it works best in the product. I've decided to try another piece of clip art because that one didn't take the space up the way that I liked it. This is a part of the project where the students can draw pictures of their characters, and I want it to be in that bolder font, the instructions for that part, just to switch up the look a little bit. These are some of my favorite little clip arts. They're called Dot Dudes, and it's a clip artist on TPT. Her name is Sarah Pecorino Illustrations. I hope I said that last name right. But it's Sarah and then P-E-C Pecorino. She has the cutest little characters, and I like to use them in my products. I'm trying to fill up the space as much as I can. I don't want any fluff really in the products, but I also want there not to be a whole lot of empty space, but I want the space the students use to be useful. And I think these little clip art guys are so cute. All right, now we're just about done here. I just have one more little space I have to figure out, and these instructions I need to work on a little bit so they don't go over the clip art. I like to have this bar here so it looks like that hanger of the clip art is hanging on the bar. Now in that big rectangle, students will write their explanation of why they think these two characters that they chose would be good friends. So the other pieces of the clip art above that big rectangle is like a mini graphic organizer for students to write down and organize their thoughts. And then the bigger rectangle is where they will write their whole paragraph or two of their answer. And I imagine this page being as a printable for teachers to print out and pass out to their students. It's in black and white. It's really good that way. But sometimes teachers also want a colored version. So I'm going to show you next how to quickly take your black and white version and make it color. I found a cuter little dot dude on books. And since this is a writing and book type prompt, I thought that one worked well. Don't forget to add a space for your students to write their name. I forgot I wanted to add a space for the students to actually write the characters' names down. So I'm going to rearrange the clip art so I can make another little piece fit here. Sometimes I think it's fun to have the clip art go off the page. It adds a good depth of variety to your work. Just going to add my copyright, click Alt 0169 to get that copyright symbol, then put your store name and the year. Now I'm going to copy this slide and I'm going to make it color. To change your character clip arts, if they come in a colored version, you're just going to right click and click change picture. And then you're going to find that same image but in color, and it will change it for you and automatically put it in so you don't have to resize it. So you right click on the image, click change picture, and insert the correct one. These other clip arts, like these doodle rectangles and things like that, those don't have colored options. So what I'm going to do is I am going to change the color of them. I'm going to highlight them, click that color icon at the top. Then I can choose more color options and I can use the eyedropper tool and match it to the colors on the little characters that I have, or I can find my own color matching that I'd like to use, and I can quickly get these all to be color. Just because when you do digital products, it's more eye-catching to the students when it's in color, it's more fun to do. So I do like to provide that colored option. I hope this lesson has been helpful for you in learning how to use PowerPoint to create printables. PowerPoint is a powerful tool that is used for creating both presentations and printables. You don't just have to use it to create lessons for your students. You can also use it to create powerful activities and printables for your classroom.